So I feel like something that happens, unfortunately, is what people will jump to, or let's go make a video together. But they've never gotten. And the first thing they do is they record the video, then they watch it, and they're just like, it's almost like they're put off because they expected something they've seen before to match what they just saw, and they're like, "Oh, that's what we look like? Oh God!"
Welcome back to SexTech and Chill. I am Yo Big Rue.
And I'm your girl, Sherri J.
And we just wrapped a dope ass conversation with Aaron Lawrence. If you don't already know, let us be the folks to introduce him to you. He is an erotic photographer. He helps folks. He's a facilitator. Yeah.
And individuals.
Helps to empower folks.
Yeah.
It's really dope. Helps to capture who and what they are in the realest, truest way, and give them something that not only touches them deeply emotionally, but they're going to hold on to and celebrate themselves for years and years to come. It was such a good conversation. I cannot say enough how happy we are that we made this, that this conversation unfurled the way it did, and that it happened in the first place.
Yeah, it was an awesome conversation. So much so that we're probably going to do a part 2.
Let us know if y'all like it as much as we do, because it was really dope.
If you have questions for Aaron for part 2, let us know.
Yes. Here we go.
You were saying before we started that you were listening to a podcast.
Yes, I was. So we were listening to, I think it's What's Up, Brah, or Hey Brah. It's a Black masculinity podcast. I wish I'm butchering the name, and I don't want to look down at my phone to look at it.
Yeah.
But we were listening to that in prep, and then we were listening to finishing the episode earlier this morning. And then so you said a bunch of things that I was intrigued at, and there's a lot of things I want to know about what you're doing and all that, and I'm intrigued about your background. But before we ask about all that stuff, I'm also intrigued because we learned from the episode that you're from Virginia. You were down in Florida, South Florida for a minute, and now you're out in San Francisco on the West Coast, because I had said I'd asked you about the time, and you said you had to do that time conversion, and I forgot. I had already forgot. Like, the guy on the episode thought you were in Virginia. I already forgot, and I'm thinking you're in Tampa. So do you mind sharing, like, what brought you out? Out to the West Coast, and what are you up to out there, and how are you liking out that way?
No, I don't mind at all. So yeah, I was born and raised in Virginia, Petersburg, Virginia, to be specific. So if anybody listens to this and they from Petersburg, what's up? I'm saying that because whenever you meet people from Petersburg, it's not a ton of us coming out of there like that. So anyway, born and raised there for a while. Outside of my artistic work, I've always worked around education. And that's actually what led me to getting down to Florida, because I had gotten an opportunity down there to keep doing what I was doing in education. So that's what got me down there for a while. The more interesting one, I would say, is what got me from Florida to California, which is basically, if I try to make a long story really short, a lot of things falling in place at the right time. So it was love mixed with the right opportunity, but all of it coincided, like, literally at the right time, like, to the extent that COVID, I put like this, COVID is an interesting thing to talk about because all of our experiences were very different through COVID. I just happened to be somebody that falls on the side of a lot of things opened up for me. It got made to happen during COVID. It actually made my transition to California easier. And then, like I said, love played a big part of that too, which is why in the background you got little drawings right here from my daughter. I got 2 kids. So she was a COVID baby.
That's awesome. Congratulations. So she a little one. She a little kid.
She is. Dope. She is. Yeah. She is. This is a very exciting place right now. You've got these kind of starting to get hung up all over the house, where she wants to put all her art kind of everywhere, which is cool. I love it.
That's very cool.
So yeah.
That's a fun age too. Like, I remember when ours was that age. That is a fun age.
Yeah. No, it is. Yeah. So that's kind of what got me there. Like I said, it's hard to just tell it without telling, like, the full long range story, but we ain't got time to go into, like, all the details going into it. Long story short, when I was in Florida, started doing a long distance thing with a woman that was out here, and then here we are with drawings on the dishwashers.
That's dope. I mean, love is a good thing, and the fact that you were able to like, it got you a whole new experience, a whole new side of the country. I mean, you got, like, a lot of bonuses with that. That's really cool. What is it like doing your work and being like in a serious committed relationship and in San Francisco versus the South and Virginia?
Mm.
Oh, that's a good
Man, that
question.
is a awesome question. I'm like high fiving you on that one
Where
right now.
I'll take it.
Because it's so many elements so many elements and angles you could take to answer that one. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so I'll go. I'll start artistically first, just artistically. An interesting part is coming out here. I feel like, for me at least, from my experience, I'm not gonna talk about anybody else's experience but mine. I feel like my experience coming out, I came out at the start of COVID, so literally March 14th, 2020 is when I came out here. It was supposed to be out here for 3 days. Shutdown happened March 16th.
From school children to sports stars, the lives of millions of Americans are being severely disrupted by the coronavirus pandemic. Schools, work, even iconic institutions like Broadway and Disney World are shut down. Experts say the economic impact could be immense in the long run, not to mention the emotional toll it's taking on a nervous nation.
I ended up staying for like 2 months. So my first 2 years out here, everything was still shut down for the most part. So artistically, it won't no photography happen. If you remember, like you ain't doing no, and especially from my type of photography where I'm in the room with you, like I'm in the
Yep.
space. So
People
that
are like, nope,
yeah, so
I
like
don't know
none of
you. And he was just like,
100%.
there's
Plus
no
we had
vaccine,
right.
nothing.
It's like what you gonna do a photo shoot with us both wearing masks? Like nah, bro. Like that ain't so. It was interesting for me coming out during that time because I started doing a lot more nature photography because that's like all I could do. Like I wanted to shoot, but all we really could do at the time was go to national parks. Like anything outdoors was space was kind of all we kind of had. But then once things opened up, it was interesting for me because I feel like coming from an area that is a lot more, how do I explain it, less open minded, especially in regards to topics around sexuality, intimacy, the body. When I came out here, I think I had this like expectation that like, oh, I'm going to San Francisco, like it's gonna be just like hella business, hella people wanting to do this and open to this and da 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 and all of that. The irony of it was that coming to a place like a city like San Francisco, the Bay Area, where these topics have been out in the open for super long, for decades.
Yep. The 60s.
We don't have to live the way our parents have been living. Wow, there's got to be a different way. And so in experimenting to find that way, people started living together. This whole sexuality thing began to be more open. There was a whole music scene with bands and rock and roll coming in, and of course LSD and marijuana. It all became a part and parcel of a way of life that was very, very different.
Right. Like, and that's still really embedded in the culture here. And so to come out here to an area that already has so much of that, finding like, oh, it's actually not what you're doing isn't actually that big of not only is it not that big of a deal, it's 100 other mofos that's done similar things in the same vein because the general culture around sexuality, around identity, around whatever you're into, is very open. It's
Yep.
very, very open. So because of that, yes, what you'll do is celebrate it, but are you standing out really? Not so much. You know what I'm saying? If anything, it's like, okay, how do you work your way into these communities to continue to build your name up, build your brand up and everything? The other big shift for me was pre 2020, I used to be like way heavier on social media, like way like super super heavy on social media to the point that like the platform I have now, well, the Instagram I have now is probably like my 15th. To be
Wow.
honest with you,
Wow.
yeah, it's 100. Oh my gosh, yeah, like I
And he mentioned that you had a whole bunch on there, and he mentioned that you had a site with the non-centered site. I was looking for that. I didn't see it.
So you can still, if you go to my website right now and you go to, there's a link for the explicit gallery, you can see it.
Okay.
You can see the uncensored one. I think at the time when that podcast was done, I had a separate website
You
entirely
did. I think it was like the
because
Okay.
released or something like that.
yeah, that was back when, man, I'm kind of going back a little bit, but that was back when all the major platforms were trying to figure out how do you pay adult content creators, and it was when they started putting down legislation that you couldn't be getting paid for that if you were on this website. So basically, I had my stuff all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I figured out how to do it. So now I have one website where you can access the censored and uncensored stuff all in the same place.
Okay.
But Yeah, no, it was before 2019, 2020. I was much larger on social media. I mean, everything from my engagement, I mean, the amount of time I was on social media, all the way to the amount of followers I had. And I hit 2019, 2020, went through a lot of personal changes, and I chose to get off social media. For 3 years, I stayed entirely off social media. So when I came back on, that was also interesting because I kind of changed my mindset. And one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to build a lot more of my art grassroots style, because so much of my platform had all been built through social media, which required me to just be on all the time. You feel what I'm saying? Like, if I'm either posting all the time, I'm in the stories all the time, I'm going live all the time, and just like after being off for 3 years, it was just like, man, like I never want to go back to engaging with algorithms that much. Like it wasn't good for me. Any personal issues I had, I didn't even have to deal with them because you got social media there. You know what I mean? Like, um, so that was another change to coming out here, which was a positive. Was there's way more spaces and ways to build connections one on one or interpersonally or going to events, talking to people. That was it's a way it was way easier out here because there's a lot more just opportunity for it out here, and that was a positive of it. That kind of came from that time of just kind of disengaging from like all social media, basically. So, so I would say that was a big shift. Now the shift from family life and doing it relationship wise, believe it or not, wasn't that much of a change because my wife now, we actually met, believe it or not, through my art.
Oh,
Yeah,
word.
yeah, yeah, 100%. She was a painter out here in California. Well, she still paints, but basically our relationship started, not okay, that wasn't a relationship. Our first communication started because she wanted the rights to paint some of my photos for shows she was doing. And that was like our first communication. It was very business. It was like, all right, cool, da da da, contract. That's kind of it. Like months later, I ended up coming out here, and I just remember. I think I was in the airport, and I remembered, oh snap, I know this shorty out here in California. I got some free time one of these days. I wonder if she'll go, meet a dude for dinner or something like that. Um, and that was actually how we ended up kind of meeting in person and everything like that. But through it, she would go with me actually when I was going to different cities and doing photo shoots and stuff. And as she's told me, one of the things that kind of really helped her understand it was the closer she was to my process, the more she understood like, oh, this guy actually really cares about what he's doing, why he's doing it, and what is the actual purpose behind it. Because something she would talk about that she talked to me about was like you'd be drained by the end of the day, but energetically drained. Not like you're physically tired, but as as I've talked about, like my photo shoots typically like 3 to 4 hours. And it's usually a lot of talking on the forefront and a lot of talking on the back end. And it's all about really making people comfortable in the space. And once the more she could see it, from the, I guess you would say, behind the scenes lens, not just like being a witnesser through like online or something like that. Um, I feel like that was kind of more of the understanding and the deeper trust and all of that was that. So our relationship didn't really have to adjust much. Family life has been the biggest adjuster, like by far. And I would say that because like it's funny enough, I was looking through my diary and I found something I wrote back in like 2021, I think. And it was about me writing because I write a lot as well. And what I was talking about was how before children came into my life, and I say that because I came into my son's life when he was 5, because she already had a child from a previous relationship. I came into his life at 5, and then 2 years later, his sister's born. But I wrote about how it was hard for me to write because I felt like my head was always basically on another human. And there were so many more things happening throughout the day. Whereas before, I felt like I always could just tap into this creative space, like at any point in time. Like I could literally just pop out a poem standing in the line buying groceries. You know what I'm saying? And then like almost feeling like this entire disconnect from any artistic type of thinking. where it just would not come. And then it was what I was writing about was basically the kind of the dichotomy between how I was almost noticing how it's like, oh wow, to have a family and to want to be present with your family, to want to be engaged with your family, but still also want to be this artist. It actually takes a lot of work and
Yes,
balance
it
and
does.
like figuring out what does it look like? Like how do I carve out space for myself to get into an artistic mindset or to get into a grounded space where I can kind of go really, really in, knowing I may hear some tears at any point in time. You know what I'm saying? So I would say that was much more of the way more of the adjustment was, having kids, being an artist, being the type of art that I do as well, and just navigating around those things. So yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, because I know, like, I can speak from my own experience. It's like I love being a dad. I loved when our kid was little, but it definitely adds an extra layer of stuff you have to focus on at all times. And stuff that, like, it doesn't matter what is going on. There's just all these other things that can occupy your brain. And I like how you said it takes conscious effort to think about your art and your craft and figure out how to like nurture that. If you've lost it, bring it back, keep it going, and then figure out the balance, because kids require reorganization of your priorities, of your time, and all that. And I know, and because they're always changing, because there's so many phases of their development, a lot, at least in our experience, figuring out that balance is like an always moving target where you're adjusting it based on what your family looks like today, what the child's development is today versus what is going to be in a year from now or something like that. So it's definitely a lot. That's really cool that you're able to hold on to that and to do that. Has doing what you do as an art form benefited you as a partner at all? Like, has it
Ooh,
benefited your relationship?
first, you want to tell the audience a little bit about what you do and then
Oh yeah,
answer
yeah,
Ruben's
yeah.
question.
That's a good point. Yeah. Please do. Tell us all about it.
Okay, so I am an intimate photographer. Basically, what that means is I photograph people in intimate spaces, spaces that, for my clientele, I would say 99% of the people I shoot or have shot have never been on camera. They've never been naked on camera. They've definitely never performed any type of sexual acts on camera. But that is what I capture, and I create spaces for them to feel comfortable expressing desire and expressing intimacy and whatever that looks like for them to the fullest extent that they want to express it. And I take photos of it. I would say beautiful photos of it, and that's what I do. So it's interesting because sometimes I'm like, do I just call myself a photographer or do I say facilitator? Because it's a mix of both. Because the typical photo shoot session I'll do with somebody, whether it's an individual or a couple, is we actually just talk for like the first hour, and that's about any and everything, like whether it's about life, family, kids. And the reason that's important is because so much of my work is about the person I'm working with being comfortable, and they have to be comfortable with me. They have to be comfortable with the space they're in, and they got to be comfortable in themselves. Because at the end of the day, my role in that situation is to capture this person at a point in time. And I want for them that in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years to look back at these photos or this video, whatever media they've wanted, and to be proud of it and be like, "Ooh, I did that. Damn, look at me." You know what I'm saying? Like I want them to feel like a little bit of like a when they're 15 years from now, looking back at it. But I also know in order to get that, they have to feel really good because that shows through the camera. And because I work with people who are not used to being on screen, never been on camera, never had somebody literally taking photos of them in these moments, because of that, knowing what it takes for them to be able to kind of get into that mental space where they can forget I'm there. So that's why a lot of that convo happens on the front. That's why a lot of that convo happens on the back. And it's almost like almost doing that check-in or aftercare. You would kind of basically,
Yeah,
or that's
yeah.
basically what it is like, okay, hey, here's a few photos I'm gonna show you. They're not edited yet, but here just to see little bit of how you look.
That's
Here's,
really
and then
cool.
talking about what it was like for them and all of that afterwards. So yeah, that's a lot of what the experience actually kind of looks like. And that's what I do, and that's what I provide for
Why
people. So
why do people do it? Like, what is some of the most common motivating factors, and what do they get out of it?
so I don't. It's hard for me to say the most common because there's honestly a range. There are some people that are just like I've had people reach out that they want it for photos to hang around their house or to hang around their bedroom, and they go, we do the shoot, print the photos out, get them framed, everything, and they're literally hanging in their bedroom or hanging in their house or something. Some people want it as a celebration of their skin or celebration of their body or celebration of the changes of their body. Um, I've actually done a lot of individual shoots that pretty much what it was about. And for some of my clients that I've worked with, what they've said to me was, I wanted to go with your photography because it was very just real. It's beautiful, but it's very real. Like they didn't really want to go the boudoir style, which is no shade to boudoir style photo shoots. There's no shade to a great boudoir photographer. Um, I think the element that I really try to put through in my work, through my writings and my photos, is trying to changing what the perception of sexy is, and what the
I
perception
like that.
of what beauty is, and which is why most of my stuff isn't boudoir style because I think it kind of
What's the difference?
uh,
What's the difference
um,
between boudoir and your style?
so boudoir typically lends to you talking about lingerie or talking about an outfit, and it kind of, this is just my opinion. Saying that 'cause I don't want to get no nasty emails and nothing like that. It leans in a way to trying to accentuate a person's sexiness, but it usually can go upon the lines of like, okay, we're going to do makeup, we're going to make sure we've got these outfits picked up, we're going to
Got a
put
nice
all of these
chaise
poses,
lounge and all
right?
that.
We're going to put these poses in a way that really accentuate all of these curves of yours, and where I feel like my photography sits in a place where it's like, let's just capture you.
Mhm.
I don't want no faking. I don't want no acting. Nothing like that. If you want to do makeup, cool. That is 100% your choice. But I really want to just capture you in the most raw you and show the beauty in that.
I
And
love
that's
that.
where a lot of my work kind of comes in at.
It feels like if you took a street style photographer and had a street photographer shooting erotica, and then you have like add a cinematic eye to that, where it's like you want the real, the raw, and then you like add a really nice SD, what do you call it, a black mist filter or something, like make it like just like have that ambiance.
Yeah, no, I mean,
um
I think actually a great way to put it, because for me, it's like I want to show the beauty in all the moments of intimacy, not just the one you prepped for, planned for, went in the gym for 3 weeks for. You know what I'm saying? I want to show the one where it's like, all right, especially for people that's had kids or just going through this everyday life thing. What's that moment of individual pleasure look like for you when I'm gonna say this one from experience. Let's say you and your partner, y'all only got a few minutes because you didn't went and told your little kid to go take a bath. The kid don't know the
yep,
bath is really for y'all to have that moment because you're not gonna have it at any other time. What's the
yep.
beauty in that moment? Like, how do you
I love
show like, okay, this is a very normal thing that is happening at any given time, but I want to capture it in a way that's like, oh wow, that is that's us in that moment.
That's really
That's
cool.
kind of where I try to step in at with my work. So,
If for people who can't necessarily hire you for whatever reason, bring you on, do you have any tips of how, if they want to shoot themselves more than just selfie style, of how they can get a better effect and have end result that they'll be really happy with or proud of or something like that, whether they're shooting themselves still photography or
yeah.
whether they're shooting a video of themselves having an intimate sexual encounter?
Oh man, I think so. There's a few elements of it. The first one would be just get comfortable not having your clothes on before any screens even pulled out.
I love that.
Like before your cell phone or whatever camera you got, like before that. And I'm saying that because to get comfortable with even seeing yourself walking by the mirror.
Yep.
Because for a lot of folk, I mean, even myself at times, it's like the mirror is like, don't do that. You know what I mean? Like you walk past the mirror, you see something you see something you ain't saw last time you look like that, and you're just like, oh, it can make you feel insecure, like really really fast.
Absolutely.
So I feel like something that happens, unfortunately, is what people will jump to, or let's go make a video together. But they've never gotten, and the first thing they do is they record the video, then they watch it, and they're just like, it's almost like they're put off because they expected something they've seen before to match what they just saw, and they're like, "Oh, that's what we look like? Oh God!"
Yeah,
You know,
and that's like
right?
that joke from Friends where they're tearing themselves down. It don't have to be that way.
At
It don't
first
have
they're
to
like,
be that
ooh,
way at
ooh,
all.
and then they're like, ooh, take it out, take it
Yeah,
out.
Right?
exactly.
No,
It's like,
I've had those moments of seeing my own videos. I'm just like, "Oh, that's what you see," you know. So I feel like before in these cameras is what I would say: get comfortable with just being in your skin, or get comfortable with doing all of these things before the screen's put out, before you feel like it's an external pressure. Because once the screen comes out, that, especially if you're recording it to send to somebody or you're doing it with a partner, let's be real, you want them to be really turned on by it.
yep,
But I would say start without any of that first. So then once you start pulling the camera out, I would say just take pictures or videos of you doing kind of normal stuff, just in your skin, or just pleasuring yourself, not to send to anybody. Take lots and lots of videos of it so you can learn, oh, how should I put my legs? Oh, if I put it over here, I can get, like, basically make it fun. Make it like a
yep.
game. Don't put the pressure on it to turn the other person on necessarily. Like, I
I
would
think that's a
say
great idea.
play, like make it something you're literally playing around with. So then that way it takes the pressure to be good at it away. You know what I'm
I
saying?
love that. Yeah,
I would
no,
say
that
like
makes
start
absolute
there,
sense.
and if you start there, you are going to get to that place where it is absolutely arousing you. And if you get to the place where it can arouse you solo, watching yourself, you in good spirits, man. You in good spirits. You on the right way.
Yo, that's dope. That is really good advice. I know, like early on, we were taking tons of video and stuff, and then we didn't. We had a long gap, and then we started again. Had to start all the way from scratch and doing like taking still photos and just like, okay, we're gonna make this like this Saturday. We're just gonna have fun with it, try on outfits, and then we're gonna shoot like have a mini little photo shoot, and that's literally what we did. And
Yeah.
it was a hell of a lot of fun. We got some images we liked, and then I was trying, like, I basically, what do you call it, an amalgamation of a lot of different advice on like getting over your issues with sexual self-esteem. So one of the things they talked about was, masturbating in the mirror and that kind of stuff. So, I've done that. I've done that with the video and getting, like you said, to get yourself more comfortable with seeing yourself on, like, well, first you're seeing your reflection, but then, on film and all of that. Because I think, like, especially for men, a lot of times we don't see a lot of conversation about self-esteem and self-image and all that kind of stuff. But we all grow and change. Some people go through health issues and this. So your body can go up and down and change in all these ways. And sometimes if you haven't, at least in my experience, if you haven't got come to grips with that, you got to do some work to get yourself to see the person on the other side of that reflection and be okay with that person, and then re-embrace that person in a new way. So that was some of the stuff that I did. That's why I'm one of the reasons why I'm so intrigued by what you're doing, because I can, from the other side looking at the images, I can only imagine how much power and empowerment was there for the person on the other side who's doing the posing and what it did for them. But I don't want to like inject my own narratives. That's why you're the photographer, and I'm sure you're having all these great conversations with them. I can only imagine the type of not only boost it gives you to be able to be the facilitator, like you said, to give someone the opportunity to be empowered in that way. Um, what can you speak in any other way to like the benefits or what people do before or after, how it might be transformative for them, if at all?
Um, yeah, I can answer that. Before I do that though, I just want to go back and say, like, bro, it is awesome. I'm so happy that you said that about your experience. And I'm serious, like, as a man, I'm just telling you, and as a man of color, like, I'm just so happy to hear you say that.
I
And
appreciate that.
there's so much I want to say to it, but I'm gonna get to your question.
Say it. No, no, no. Say it, man. This is what it is about. You could throw my question on the floor. Like I'll pick it back up later.
um,
Floor's clean.
yeah, no, seriously, you said that, and I was just like if I could hug you through the screen,
I
I would. I
appreciate that.
wanted to.
Because it is not easy, but like our whole thing is let's keep it a buck and let's put this
Yeah,
stuff out there. I can't expect other folks to
yeah.
share if I'm not willing to be vulnerable and share as well. It's not like I'm always proud of all the things I share, but my whole point is when we come to these conversations, I would like that either my missteps or my mistakes can help somebody else either to avoid those things or at least at minimum to feel seen if they're going through anything remotely similar. To be like, nah, you're not the only one. Because my philosophy is if there's one, there's many. With almost
Yeah.
anything out there, if there's one, there's many. So if you're feeling it or you're going through it, you better believe a bunch of other people are too. Just maybe they're not comfortable or to say it, or maybe they're not in a position to say it. Maybe it's safety or what have you. But that's the whole point of why we're doing this is like we need visibility in this way. And like you said, like I wasn't seeing a lot of other people having these conversations. So we wanted to have these conversations. And I love media. I love the creative arts and all that. This is our way of kind of being able to do a little bit of both all at the same time. And I love people. So I get to have dope conversations with people like you and just like talk about this shit. So
Yeah.
it's that's in
Very
a nutshell.
personal.
Yeah,
It's
very
personal, in
much.
other words.
Yeah.
For us, it is all of this is very personal. Yeah. So
Um,
we're open.
well, on that vein, I would say like you talked about like taking pictures of yourself and all that. One, I want to high five both of y'all again because y'all went through that process of just play, and I say this because like people underestimate the role of play in relationships, and not to I don't know go super off track, but when I was in school, one of my cohort members was a woman that is doing amazing work in advocating for children to have more time playing. And the interesting part was between her work and my work. So our worlds seem like they are completely separate. There was so much intersection between the role of what freedom of expression and creativity, touch, taste, senses, smells, all of these things that highlight these parts of our bodies, right? How much intersection there is, and for adults, how that actually leads to arousal. And how when it comes to the topic of like sexuality, intimacy, it's kind of like our adult brains have put them in this category over here that we want to just tap into. Okay, we put the kids to sleep, now let's hop into that. Okay, this certain day or this person's coming over, let me just hop into this box. When in reality it's like these things got to be integrated into a daily part of our life, and being able to just play around with sexuality is like super super important. But anyway, specifically back to what you were saying, for me, when I part of the reason why I got off social media back in 2020, a few things happened all at the same time. Um, my mom passed. After that, I'd already moved to California, which was a big transition. My partner and I both lost our moms about 4 months apart. This led to just a lot of stuff coming up for both of us, and a lot of stuff coming up for me because I had a lot of stuff I had never dealt with from my childhood, from my teenage years, some traumas I'd had that I just never talked about. The time came now to deal with those things, and in dealing with those things, I decided, and then we decided, social media is let's just cut it off entirely. Like I can't heal myself and have this thing over here that can be a distraction. In the midst of it though, when I'm going through these therapy sessions and I'm doing all of this stuff, and I was meeting my therapist like twice a week at one point. Like the early parts of it was like heavy, right? What I realized was like I had to do an entire reshaping of my relationship to sexuality because if you look at it like building a house, the foundation I had built around my understanding of sexuality had been built with a lot of bad bricks and a lot of ideas that I didn't really necessarily agree with, but they had almost become just intertwined in everything that I'd kind of became. So I had to spend some time just kind of separating this stuff out and sorting it out. Like it got to a point where for a while I didn't even want to touch my body. I didn't want to touch my penis. It felt like it would almost make my stomach hurt. Especially I was going through like the heaviest parts of my therapy and everything else like that. So I had to spend a while like literally relearning like what is my idea of sexuality. Like I questioned all of my photography, all of my writings. Like I didn't even want to look at it. And I'll be 100%. I got to credit my lady because there was a point where I wanted to throw everything away and just like not look at a single photo I'd ever taken, not done anything regarding that topic, period. But I bring this all up because as you talk about standing in the mirror, I had to go back to a place of basically even masturbating and almost like relearning how to do it from the perspective of what's my pleasure. How do I do this not with the idea of what's sexy, of what somebody's gonna think, or sitting in some super fantasy of like, like how do I just how do I even think about just what is my pleasure? How do I just sit and enjoy my body and just for what it is as my body without questioning it, without feeling weird about it, without, and I had to sit in that for a while. So that's where it comes from, saying like getting comfortable with ourselves first is like so much more important, especially if you're trying to go down the line a little bit before setting yourself up for failure. Because I think for me at least, I had spent so much of my sexuality always in a way of looking for validation and using my sexuality really to validate myself.
Ooh, okay.
And getting to a place of loving my sexuality just for itself, and that's it. Not needing it to be validated, not needing, anytime I felt arousal, that I needed somebody else to tell me it's okay or to sit in that arousal with me. Like, no, just
Doing that
doing it by
introspective
yourself.
work is a lot, though. That the fact that you did that, sorry to cut you off, but the fact that you did that introspective work and just that's a lot. And
I was gonna say, I love that for us all.
yes, yes. I mean, the fact that you're the one shooting the pictures and you've done the internal work
Yeah.
is going to show in your art. I mean, because you can readily see, like, I think about the court case, was it the Girls Gone Wild, and the guy who was running that, and the guys at the top who essentially all exploited all those ladies, and you know, one of them, he ended up in prison or what have you. But the whole point of why something as terrible as like that could happen and be so exploitative, and also reflect back on sexuality and entertainment associated with sexuality so poorly, as it should, because it's really fucked up, horrible shit, is because people like that, number one, they either haven't done the work, they don't care to do the work, they don't look at other human beings as being equal, autonomous people. And like, so they're free to exploit people without it bothering their own conscience, without even having, like, it doesn't, I don't even understand if it touches on the idea of ethics for them. And I think what happens is I feel like the internal work, if you've done it, it will influence every choice you make with everything. And I think you can see how much work someone has or hasn't done pretty quickly if you get to know them and you're able to see the decisions they make. I know, like, when I was listening to an episode with King Noir and just something that he had said, I'm like, yo, that dude's done the work. Because somebody had asked him a question about a celebrity something. He's like, essentially, pump the brakes. Number one, that person didn't ask for me to bring them into this conversation in this way. I don't even know that person. That's a huge disrespect. So no, we're not going to go there. You know, something like that. Like, I was just so like you were saying, black men changing narratives, essentially. That dude like changed the narrative just with that, just by being willing to do that on camera with when somebody asks him a question. Like, you go back 15 years, you go back to the late 90s, that was normal stuff for people to be doing and talking out of pocket and stuff. And you look,
All it takes is
2025 is different.
one person to be
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not answering that question.
Yeah.
To change the perspective for other people watching.
And the way he did the reasoning why,
Yeah.
I think really hit too, because he not only did it for himself, but then he schooled the whole audience, everyone watching. And I'm sure he got the person who asked him the question to kind of think of things differently. And I feel like when you just said that, it made me think of all of that kind of stuff. I know that's like, I'm going kind of esoteric out in left field, but I'm so appreciative of everything you said. I wanted to jump in and say that if you can remember where you were, I would have let you talk now.
I was going to say too, unless I'm interrupting you.
No,
I was
no,
going to
no.
say to the point where you were talking about, you know, something came up in your life, and for us, a lot of the people we talk to, it's they're coming out of religion like us, or really what's the word, controlling backgrounds, or what, and they're very repressed and all that stuff. So we have a lot of people who watch that are coming from those type of backgrounds. But it's interesting that your journey was a parent passing away that kind of brought you to a new place to like kind of reevaluate where you are in your sexuality. So many things around that. One, it just shows like how integral our sexuality and sex and pleasure and all that is just holistically in our lives. And, you know, because they're always trying to stomp it out of everything. And then the other thing was how you said it took a while, like a year or whatever, where you were just trying to like unlearn and relearn different aspects of that around, I guess, what you were taught and then also how you felt about yourself. And I really appreciate, nobody really wants to talk about the time that it takes to do that. And it is a lot. And it's not like a flip a switch, oh, I want to be this person. And then you flip the switch and you're that person. It takes time because we have so much rooted in us that isn't
Yeah.
ours that we have to figure out first. So I really appreciated you. I really appreciated you coming from that perspective too.
Yeah, and condolences for the loss of your mom and your wife's loss of her
Yeah,
parent too. I meant
that
to
was
say
rough.
that, and I got totally distracted.
No, I mean, I think when you're talking about that time component, I feel like in society today, that's the number one thing that's kind of working against a lot of our growth, just individually and as a culture, is knowing like, yeah, it takes time. Like, there's not a quick fix for trauma. There's not a quick fix for you really trying to be a better person. Like, there's not. This stuff is going to take months or maybe take years, and your process is going to look like this. And sometimes you'll feel good, sometimes you'll feel bad, but you have to be okay with knowing it's going to take a while and not putting that pressure kind of on yourself to be where you're not. I guess you would say. And I think I know for myself at least, when I was going through that process, I believed that it was always going to work out for the better, but I did not care where it ended up. Meaning, I wasn't tied to going back to doing the photography, to doing intimate photography. I didn't know if that was ever going to be something I was gonna want to pursue, want to pick up. Um, or even go back into writing. I didn't know, because literally when I tell you, I got to a place where I wanted to pick apart every all of the foundations so that I could decide, what do I want to keep, what do I need to toss. And the only way to do that really is to just break it all down, which of
Yep,
course makes you very sensitive.
deconstruction.
And it makes you very sensitive. It brings a lot of stuff to the surface. I would say it's probably the most uncomfortable period of deconstruction, is because you almost feel like you're just like super triggered by everything. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, even for myself, like, even if when I was in the shower, not wanting to letting the soap run over my penis and stuff, because I didn't actually want to touch it. Like, it was that deep of a disconnect that I felt for a
Yep.
while. And then slowly moving back into, okay, I'm gonna masturbate. Okay, let's do it just in my mind, close my eyes, no stimulation. Not that I'm anti-porn or anything, but for me at this time period, I needed to just be in my head, and that's it.
Yeah.
That
And
makes
then
sense.
and then for a while working with that, and then going back into saying like, oh man, I was introduced to pornography at 10 years old, and it stayed as a consistent part of my life. Now, granted, some of that is the reason that shaped a lot of my work. I mean, literally, one of the reasons I wanted to get into this work was to show real bodies and real people of color in an authentic way, because I didn't see that. But the
Yep.
other component of it was me saying, the other side of that though is, my mind's always kind of been in this place, and I learned to attach my own personal pleasure to external stimulation. Do you feel what I'm saying? So I'm like,
Yep.
okay, now that I'm going back into it, hey, there are tons of ways of finding stimulation. Have I ever tried audio erotica? Have I tried just literature erotica? Have I tried the multiple hundreds of categories? If I'm gonna watch porn, do I need to go to my trusted 2 or 3 categories I bang with, or should I explore all these other categories that are there? And it was cool because it was like, okay, if I'm looking at this, like, I don't know, just trying out, I don't know, if I'm looking at this like I'm just gonna explore what's out there, let me just do that and have fun with it. I don't need to put pressure on myself to find the thing that's gonna get me there every single night. It's okay if I come across stuff I'm just like, nah, or hey, that turned me on last week, but this week, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just learn this now, rather than just staying in these habits or patterns that I've always had. And that process, like you said, it takes time.
Yes, it
It,
does.
Yep.
Yes, it does. And it's like I appreciate hearing you say that too, because one of the things I think about is like, if we don't allow ourselves to have flexibility, we could be allowing other people to fully shape and determine what we think of as this is what's sexy, or this is what is erotic, or this is, like, as though this one narrow lane is the only thing. That's why I love that you said, I'm going to focus on showing people of color, because, I mean, when we started looking, what was out there. And then like we keep coming across, and then like, oh, you wanted to see interracial people, well, try typing that in,
Oh
see what you come
man,
back. Like,
Beautiful interracial sex. I
yeah,
mean, still,
but I mean, like, all that we've had to wade through
yeah,
to get
so
to
much
that.
shit.
And it's like, that's why, again, I'm going to go back to people who are doing the work and who also have a unique and varied point of view. Like, there's all this backlash against DEI, and part of that is because they want a homogenous version of our culture. And by you doing your work, you're bucking that trend and saying, "Oh, I don't want to use bucking in this context." That just made me think of something real fucked up. You are running counter to that trend. I'm so sorry.
you you good, bro?
That's
You
that
Ruben.
good? You
ADHD
good?
side of me. That's
You
like I'm
good?
I'm
You
always
good?
running 3 tracks at the
You good?
same
You good?
time. But like I feel like is why it's so important to have so many points of view, creating art, creating media, doing this kind of stuff.
The bigger thing. So like I remember this distinctly. Like if I can put you back in memory lane of Aaron when he's like 14, right? And I remember Googling or going on different porn browsers and typing in romantic couple, typing in ebony romantic couple, Hispanic romantic couple. Can't find nothing. And what
Yep.
and what you do find is like what I would find is it's just really raunchy. Now if I type
Yep.
in if I type in romantic couple, it's going to be 1,000 videos of the most blondest looking people with all
Yep.
the same body type. So
Yep.
for even when I was like that age, it bothered me, and this would make me just search multiple websites to see what was out there. And that's what, as I got older, being like, hey man, like, especially as I started to date and be in relationships with women and started to learn about all the insecurities we had, and I started to just kind of see all these connections between like, well, there's like no representation for actual sexuality. If you are
Yep.
anybody that is not of a specific body and skin complexion, and even if I look at white people, if you look at porn at the time, or even now for most of the mainstream stuff, it's still one type of white person that is shown.
Yep.
And this, my thing
Exact.
was
As
like,
though that's what everybody likes, and
eh,
it's not.
right, it's just,
There's a lot of variations.
right, and it's like, so for me, it was like, okay, why can't you find a Hispanic couple making love? Why can't you find a Middle Eastern couple making love? Why can't you find an African couple making love? Why can't you find literally anybody else that is shot in a way that is artistic and
Yep.
shows the realness in this beautiful way? Because I saw it as, hey, like sex is beautiful. Like I can look at it and see so many things in it. Why can't we just show that? And that became a lot of the motivation for my work. Is like, okay, let's change people's perspective of this thing by the images they're seeing. Because if I look at these images, I totally see why there may be somebody who's like, oh no, the thought of deep throating is like, no, that's disrespectful. Well, yeah, if the only time you've heard about it was in some middle school or high school class, the way it was talked about, probably raunchy. If you Googled
Yep.
it, whatever came up, probably raunchy and super disrespectful. So you've probably never seen somebody doing that in a way that's like, oh my, that was
Exactly.
what I wanted to shoot. So that's like,
Exact.
if you go to the explicit gallery, that is the whole point of it, of the explicit gallery on my website is, no, we need to see the juices, the veins. We need to see these really authentic, raw moments because they're actually gorgeous if you can see the beauty in them. But it's just,
Yep.
most of us have not been shown these things in a way that is respectful. Because again, if I typed in ebony couple, it was going to be some hella raunchy shit. And if I typed
Yep.
in interracial couple, it's going to be some 6'4", super dark skinned, hella muscular dude with some like 5'1" blonde chick, which tells me,
Yep.
I mean, you already know. As a black man, you already know
Oh,
what that tells.
I
Like,
told,
you already
believe
know.
me, I had to do a lot of the work of working through a lot of the anti-blackness and a lot of the demonization of my own sexuality and my desire. I mean, when we first got married, especially because of where we came out of, I had to do a hell of a lot of work. I mean, I had years where I had a hard time every time after we had sex, just struggling. I had horrible guilt. And then I have, trauma from my growing up and all this kind of stuff. So I 100% get where you're coming from. That's why, again, what you're doing is so powerful. Makes me think of like, there's royal fetish films, there's black touch, which I know you know black touch, Brian. And then Make Love Not Porn is another one where it's basically people shooting themselves and then putting it on that platform, and they're all like real couples or people who are doing it solo. And then I think that's one of the reasons why every time we come across something really good, we promote the hell out of it, like X Confessions, Lust Cinema. I mean, there's a bunch of them, and I don't want to leave anybody out. Pink Label is, we have a whole list. Like Sherri always says, go to our list on sextechandchill.com. We got a whole ass playlist. Y'all find some stuff that you like there. And especially to go back to what you're saying, like not being limited by, if you're not hetero, there's stuff on there that's clearly not hetero, different ethnicities, body types, sizes, and all that. I think it's so important too because it's like our beauty standards and the culture in America are so narrow that if we're not careful, we can be fooled into believing that we're not attractive, we're not desirable, or on the other end of the spectrum, they're structured in such a way as to make us ashamed of what we're attracted to, who we're attracted to. Oh, if I'm not into someone who's like got a super slender build or XYZ thing, oh, that's not, that's the beauty type I'm supposed to be attracted to. So if that's not my preference, now there's something wrong with me. There's so many things. Like I've watched a lot about just media and advertising in general, and I think a lot of times folks forget how influential both our advertising and our media can be, not only how we see the world around us, but how we see ourselves and our own interest in all that. So I love that you're talking about this. Yeah, this is everything. Continue. I'm gonna just keep saying continue.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, I think the other thing too is, which I will say, I definitely know is because I moved out here to the Bay Area, to the where, regardless of your identity, regardless of your sexual orientation, it's a lot more accepted, appreciated. Something I've always wanted to do was really shoot like anybody. Like I've had people reach out to me in email and say sometimes like, okay, well, who do you shoot and who won't you shoot? And I'm like, are you over 21? Are
Yep.
you're not a you're not an axe murderer or something like that? Then
Yeah, exactly.
let's work. Like I'm not looking
Exactly.
for a specific body or a specific person or even an orientation. Because my thing is like I just want to show pleasure because pleasure itself is beautiful and pleasure is freedom. And there's this weird juxtaposition of that because you hear pleasure and you think sexuality, especially in the topics we're talking about. But pleasure is just the things that make us feel fulfilled. You know what I'm saying? Pleasure is just walking through a garden. Pleasure is just putting your feet in ocean water. Like I just want to capture these moments of pleasure. So it doesn't matter whether you're in a same sex relationship, whether you're in a heterosexual relationship, whether you want 4 people in the room or you want one person in the room. If it's bringing this, I want to show it in the most authentic way because there are people, like you say, that there are people that are going to love this. If it's one, there's a million. And that's the biggest thing I would say. Oh, here you go. Back to your question you asked me earlier about like, what have they kind of taken from it? For most, I would say the people I've worked with afterwards, they've just from if I'm summarizing a lot of what their responses have been back is basically the feelings of validation that they've gotten or to be seen. Like I'll never forget there was a woman I worked with and she squirted for the first time in her entire life during our photo shoot. And I didn't know this. So as she starts squirting, I'm shooting, I'm getting all the pictures and everything like that. Of course, in my head, I'm like, oh, this is awesome, this is amazing. She's gonna love these, right? But then afterwards, as she's like, she's done and everything, and she's kind of cleaned up. I sit beside her on. I'm gonna use my phone for an example, but I come down, I sit beside her on the edge of the bed, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like look at these, da da da, and I start seeing tears coming down her eyes, and at first I'm just like, oh shit, what like what just happened? Right? But then I realized really quickly, like, oh, like she's happy. These are happy tears. And then she tells me that was her first time ever squirting. She didn't think she could do it, but something about being seen but feeling safe just kind of opened something up. And then like as I sat and I kind of thought about it, realizing like, and I'll say for myself as well, I am very aware of the importance of validation, but especially when it comes to our bodies and our sexualities, those are typically the areas that are the most we get the least validation growing up, especially if you grew up in the church, which I grew up Southern Baptist. I was a choir. I was in the. I was an usher. I was in the choir. I was in the church 3 days a week, Sunday school, everything. Like, so we those are the two areas that really get taken away from us the most. So when it comes to feeling safe, is like if you can feel that safety and comfortability to just open up, and I say that energetically, I mean literally and figuratively, that really is, I would say, the thing that gets people to the next component of really embracing what they are so that they can enjoy it. But that was an experience where I definitely will never gonna forget it. But then realizing, oh, this is more of the reason why I think people are reaching out to me, even if they can't articulate it. It's I want to see myself in this space respected, and I want to see these actions I'm doing uplifted, and realizing, like, oh, that's what people, even if they can articulate it, I think that's more of what it matters is the validation. Do you get what I'm saying?
I
Yeah.
absolutely get what you mean.
Yeah, that was. And I mean, it helped me articulate more of even why I was doing what I was doing because I knew that that's what I was going for. But until this conversation, I'd never like really been able to put the words to it. And it's like, yeah, that's all I wanted for you in this experience. Um, was to be able to know that there is somebody taking photos of you. All the focus is on you. Like the attention is 100% on you to do whatever you want, but you also know you can sit in that and be safe in it. And that was like that was big. So but I would say for most people, that's been what they've talked to me about afterwards was just the freedom in it, especially people who have never gone into those situations. It led them to being like, oh wow, I'm not I don't have horns popping out of my head now that somebody has taken photos of me masturbating. Because like that's the idea of it, right? The idea is if somebody's taking pictures of me doing something, oh, that means I'm doing porn. Oh, that means God is coming in my room tonight to judge me. Like it's like we're just taught from that perspective. And then you can have this experience where you got to be fully in yourself. And afterwards, we just sitting here talking about what type of tea we want to drink. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think for a lot of people, it's almost like I would say a mind fuck of like, wow, that was a limit that I didn't know was a barrier. And now I'm aware that that barrier is broken and it feels a lot better.
I
That's
love
really
that.
dope. That is really dope. I can definitely see it, and that's just I am not surprised at all you came out of the church too, because it is the most common theme we see in talking to people who make this their craft, make it, part of their art form, make it their business. It's like so many of us that come up out of these really restrictive, repressive backgrounds, and we do this work, we get free, and then we're like, okay, gotta go free 10 more, gotta free 100 more, gotta empower other people, because it's like being on this side is so different than being on that other side. Well, for you, what does empowerment look like when you see somebody? Like, do you notice a difference right away? Can you see a difference in how they hold themselves, or like just like is it like a visible thing for you, like a physical manifestation?
I think so. One of the things I remember noticing like really early into my photography was how much more free people became once their clothes were all off. And I would think about that as Grant, this is not me trying to profit. I'm not trying to prophesize at all. I am not trying to like say like this is what everybody should think. Nothing like that. It's just what I was experiencing and I experienced for myself. That the clothes we wear are kind of like these masks. It's how we want to identify. Even look at me right now. I picked this shirt out. I picked this hat out because I like wearing this hat. I think it looks good on me. I want to represent myself well. But at the same time, I know it's kind of a mask as well. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna infuse an idea of who I am to whoever's viewing it. Once that sheds, ain't nothing left but the human. And what I would see when I'm doing shootings, because usually the person will show up. Like I said, we talk for a while, and once I can usually feel when they start to become more comfortable, clothes come off. And the moment the clothes come off, conversation gets better. Conversation gets more real, gets more authentic. Conversation becomes a lot more expressing the things that they may have filtered out of what they were saying before, and now it's coming out. And it's like, why? They ain't got nothing to hide. And then you go through the photo shoot experience, and if they've had a photo shoot where they're pleasuring themselves or pleasuring with a partner, by the end of it, they've orgasmed in front of you, they've moaned in front of you, they've grunted in front of you. you've seen them in such a raw primalness that it's like there's just like a looseness and a relaxation to kind of any of these things that kind of to how the conversation is going to flow, to kind of how they're going to walk and interact. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
Um,
Mm-hmm.
do.
and that's something I would say. I would feel like, to me, if I would have to say what does that empowerment look like, I would say more. It looks like a relaxation because we don't actually notice how tense we are and how guarded we are. And then as you go through some of these experiences, it's like the person's a lot more relaxed. But that to
That's
me is
really cool.
empowerment, because if you're
Yeah,
relaxed,
it
you're
is.
calm, you're grounded, you're in yourself, and you're a lot more of that than how you came in, kind of feeling, maybe uncomfortable, maybe whatever you were feeling. But I would say that was definitely the biggest thing. And I mean, I'll be honest, I'm a personal advocate for going places or to being in spaces where you can be without your clothes that are non-sexual. I think from my experiences going to them, super eye-opening. Biggest thing is, for most people, they've never been somewhere without their clothes that's not sexual, which makes us see our bodies as these inherently sexual beings. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I think when a person can be in a space and we're just talking the same way we are now, but we don't have anything on, you really realize how quickly it's like, oh man, our society's made us have all of these ideas of uncomfortability, but to just be is an entirely different level of kind of freedom. And I think for people that have worked with me, being able to walk around, because I'm fully clothed as I'm doing these shoots. So the other person, the individual or the couple, they're completely naked or they're wearing whatever garments they choose to wear during it. But I'm completely clothed. But we're having the same conversation. We can sit here and talk politics. We can talk life. We can talk kids. We can talk all of it. Nothing's changing amongst what this feels like between us.
It's like shedding your shield and a super level of vulnerability, especially for with the person on the other side is clothed and you are removing all your external armor and you're just like broke down to the raw essence of who you are. That takes a lot of trust. I feel like that says a lot about you and how you're able to help folks create an environment to make people feel comfortable enough to let all those shields down. Because it's like our clothing is as much aesthetic and style as it is, in my opinion, personal armor as well. Um, that's really dope. One of the things I've always um it's like on my bucket list is go to like a nude beach and just because I've seen so many stories and read so many experiences about how empowering it is. I know like the closest I came was like this is back in the early 90s, like when I used to surf, and like I just changed out of my wetsuit and I just put a towel around me, and but I wasn't in a rush to do it and I didn't care. It's like, I just came out the water and I was real free with myself. And I remember like just I had this like so chill mentality, and it's around the time when I met you,
Mm-hmm.
met Sherri, and that was one of the things she loved about me. And I'm like, that's one of the reasons why I think, you know what, it would be actually really cool to just go to one and just like be in the midst of everything and everyone and just like exist in that way and kind of like reclaim some of that chill that I had, back when I was in my, what was it, early 20s. Um, so yeah, I totally feel it. I hear the same experience over and over and over again about like the power of that experience when it goes well and it's not coerced and all of those kind of things. So I am not surprised to hear you say all that.
Hey man, like, hey, y'all plan a trip to California. There's a good amount of spaces out here like that. And I mean, some of them, I put like this. Imagine if you're in a space where there's people, I'm gonna say youngest age is 25 all the way to 75, 85. And people just reading books, writing their journal, sleeping, talking. You really quickly, first thing you're gonna drop is all your insecurities. Because when you're
Yep.
looking at somebody walking with a cane, but they're completely naked, and you're just having a normal conversation about something, it totally makes you be like, why am I so hung up on like, this is what I got? And then you're seeing how people bodies actually look, the varying degrees of how we all kind of show up. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
to me, it's one of those things like, healing wise, it's more healing interpersonally than it is anything externally, because it's validation through seeing other people and just how they are existing as humans. And you quickly realize, like, oh, it's easier to have a conversation sometimes with somebody without any clothes on than it is with clothes on. Because if you show up in this super nice tailored suit, I got on this outfit, my preconceived notion, my bias, my unconscious bias tells me already what their bank account may look like. It may tell me
Yep.
this person may be, oh, they're A type because they're wearing it. All of these things come in. But if you don't have that, you just, what's your name?
Yep.
You start there. You're not even thinking about what do you do, because that's a stupid question to ask. If we just sitting here, we ain't gonna talk about our jobs. You know what I mean? So it's definitely an experience like I wish more people could have. And I know that it's one of the things that during some of the shoots I've done, people have talked to me about, especially the individual women I've worked with, who have said, "You're the first guy I've ever been around completely naked in a non-sexual way." And that for them was almost this whole like, wow, I haven't even experienced this, and kind of how it kind of changed their perspective or made them feel safer. So that's been a cool, I guess you say, added part. Yeah.
That is really cool. And I mean, I'm sure that gives them a foundation and, the positive that came from it, nothing negative came from it. So now they got a foundation to build on. That's huge. Um,
I was going to say, on the note of realness, is there anything, or was there anything that surprised you about filming real couples having real sex that's different than what we see in porn?
Absolutely.
that's a good one to say.
Yes. So the first thing was, I'm getting hot. So because I work with people who have never been on camera, right? There's a few elements already off the top that are different. First one is I can't ask somebody to redo a pose or redo not a pose, a position. I can't ask you to redo any situation. When I'm shooting with the individual or a couple or multiple people, I have to capture everything like as it's happening. Like my job and my role at that point is to be a fly on the wall. Like I want people to forget I am even in the space, right? The biggest difference between it is, one, you'll notice the positions people have sex in. It's kind of the same way as how if you type in female masturbation on any adult site, typically what you're going to get is an angle of them where their legs are spread wide open and it's kind of very central focused, right? But if
Mm-hmm.
you actually learn about female pleasure, there's tons of different positions that women orgasm in, especially when they're in solo pleasure, that aren't just you laying back, spread legs. Now, some
Yep.
people do that. That's totally fine. But the point is, like, as you know, that's not actually super realistic to how it really looks amongst a variety of people. And it's the
Yep.
same thing when it comes to couples and positions. It's like I can watch a porn scene now, and I don't know that position is actually probably really uncomfortable for them. It is only for the shot that the director is trying to get, because that will
Mm-hmm.
never happen if you're actually shooting with a couple. Like that position does not happen. It just, even if you got the two most flexible, in shape people, that
They're like,
position,
why? It's not
right?
comfortable.
That
We do it too.
right,
We're like, that didn't feel good.
right,
Yeah.
right, exactly. And it's like
Or
that.
they're turning out. I know they're turning out, and they're someone's
That is
behind them
for
saying,
our
"Turn out,
that is
frick."
for our viewing only, because that don't feel good.
100,
Yup.
right. So like one is that like knowing what, seeing what positions certain people are in and knowing like, okay, that's not going to actually play out like that. The other one is, for me at least, when I'm working with a couple or somebody that's in that, being able to read what's going to happen, because again, I can't ask them to do it again. When you're working with two people who've never been on camera, the most important thing is them forgetting I'm there. So I can't be like, "Hey, can you slow down that stroke real quick? I'm just trying to get this." I can't. You know what I mean? Like I can't do something like that.
Micromanage them.
Right, right. I can't sit there and be like, "Hey, can you bend your knee a little bit?" It's gonna make a great shot. Like you can't say stuff like that or do stuff like that, because I'm not gonna throw them off to hear some external command or direction. Um, so I think seeing the ways people naturally kind of go through the progression from beginning, I would say, to end, that looks very different from porn. Because what you happen in, I'm a, I will say mainstream porn, but even some indie creators, and I get it, because adult entertainment is entertainment. There's an element of it that kind of has to be doctored a little bit, because you're trying to create something that a person can watch and enjoy. And the reality of it is that if people just watched humans having sex normally, it wouldn't be as interesting as people would go to watching porn, because you're going to
Mhm.
see 10 minutes of kissing. Most humans, we're not going to sit and watch 10 minutes of kissing with light convo, with little touching here, a little touching there. You're not going to sit through that. That's not going to be arousing. So porn has to technically do some of these things to change it. But when you're working with people that are just real people that you're not telling them what to do, you're going to have a lot of these tiny little moments, or you're going to have the moment where you can tell, she may be ready to go into intercourse. He's not ready to go into intercourse. How are they going to adjust and keep this thing going? Or situations where, like, if I'm working with a couple and let's say one person's more ready than the other, okay, how do we slow this down so that they still feel comfortable without feeling the pressure from me? Because some people will have it where they're like, okay, I paid for this. We want to get this done. And I
Yep.
always tell people, hey, I don't care what you paid for. At the end of the day, it is your shoot. Nothing's going to happen that you're not comfortable with. And it's going to show through on the pictures or the video if you're trying to mentally put yourself there, but you're not ready yet. So that may look like me stepping outside the room for 20 minutes until I can hear things going on. Then I'll quietly kind of come back in to get it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
being able to work through those, I would say those awkward, funny moments. Like, have any one of you all ever caught a muscle spasm while having sex?
Yep.
That right there is the
Yep.
funniest thing ever. When
Mhm.
you in there, right? Like, as a man, I'm gonna say, like, I'm in there, I'm going. Next thing you know, ah!
Yep. You're slapping that thigh or that calf trying to get
Right,
that pain away
right. You
becomes the first thing you think about, the only thing you care about making better.
Exactly. So, like, those funny moments, or somebody fall off the bed, or somebody, you're in a position that's just not working, or you accidentally bumping heads when y'all go. Like, all of these things that happen are normal, funny parts of that experience that should be there. You don't see that in porn at all. Like, you don't see those moments of those, like, kind of mess ups. I will say there's some content creators that are better about it now, but for a lot of the stuff that you can easily access, you
Yep.
don't see those moments. Like, you
Yeah.
you just don't kind of get to experience them. And I think those are the things that, like, I think are beautiful parts that need to be shown just as much. So
Yeah, I think that's really smart. I was thinking like when the bed's too low and your back hurts, and it's like, I need to stop for a second. My back is killing me. It's like this damn bed's too low. It's like, yeah, I appreciate that. I know when Cindy Gallup was talking about that with Make Love Not Porn, they were saying something similar to that. I think that's why there's power in things like the rise of OnlyFans and what was it, like ManyVids and Fansly and stuff like that, because people creating for themselves the way they want it to be versus whatever studio telling them what they have to make or telling them how it has to look, and then allowing the audience to find them who appreciates their content and appreciates what they're doing. That's why I love that there's folks like you creating independently, and clearly you're proving through what you're doing and the people who are so excited by the results that there is a significant audience for this who values this, and that the studios had been wrong for a long time with being so narrowly focused. And I don't want to like discount there was people like Candida Royale and all that were out there who had been creating content for, I don't want
You're
to call
talking
it
studios
films, yeah, for
primarily.
decades. But I mean, hers was like she did have a studio, and she was indie, and it was very it was,
Yeah, but we
but
know what you
yeah,
mean. Yeah.
yeah. I just sometimes I feel like I come across like it was like a
You need your
nobody, and
asterisk.
I'm just putting I'm putting my asterisk saying yes. Clearly, there were select people out there who were doing their thing, and I just want to make sure that they get credit for that, especially folks like her who were out there for so long ago and yada yada. I guess my last question is that I'm going to ask you is, if you were going to think about it, how do you personally sex tech and chill? What does that look like
mm,
for you?
mm, that's a good question.
No wrong answers.
So, okay, it's changed. I will say that it is definitely changed. After I took that time off social media, and after I would say I rebuilt my relationship to intimacy. I'm not even gonna say sexual, just me being intimate with myself. It's come down to now a lot more of listening to what do I actually want. And what I mean by that, and I'll be 100% real with you, I have done a whole lot of masturbation at times when I actually didn't want to. That was my go-to. It was my vice. It was my almost, I would say, ritual habit. Even if, that made it what I felt like, I can get myself to do it, whatever, da da da. And now it's to a point where I can hear a lot more of what actually feels good to me. And that can look different by the day. Hell, I'm not even okay if maybe at 5 o'clock I'm thinking I may do that tonight, or I may want to have this time with my lady tonight. But by 9 o'clock, I didn't dealt with one crying about one thing, the other one crying about one thing. I didn't help with homework. We didn't cook dinner. I didn't clean up dog shit. All of these things happen, and now I just want to cuddle because that feels as pleasurable to me as sexual pleasure would have felt, because it's what I needed, which is more than just like checking this box off of like, oh man, like I want to feel good in this particular way. It's what feels good to me, what'll make me feel whole now. And that also may be just me sitting on the front porch by myself looking at the moon. Not trying to make myself sound all like esoteric and nothing like that, but I love just sitting and looking at stars. Like I love sitting in darkness and kind of just, so that may be what I may need. It may be, it might be me rolling a blunt real quick and reading some erotica while I smoke that shit. And
Oh,
just
that's
like
dope.
that may be what I want to do for that night. And it's going to inspire me in other ways. But I would say that probably, to answer, I would say that is how I would say I sex, tech, and chill now, is taking the moment, which is the hardest part with all of these varying things happening in life, is finding that moment to actually be like, what is going to feel good to me that's going to allow me to wake up feeling good tomorrow morning. Because if I do something that doesn't actually feel good to me, it isn't what I really want, it's going to affect my sleep, and it's going to affect how I just feel by the time I wake up. And I want to feel good in the morning. So yeah.
That is dope. Thank you so much for sharing that. There's a lot in there, but I'm gonna just like let it sit and let it marinate because I'll end up taking you another half hour, and I'll be fucking up your schedule. And I can't afford to do that to you, because we want to be able to talk to you again.
Oh yeah,
Yo,
definitely.
it was so dope getting to know you and all that. Where can people find you online? You have anything you want to plug, and how can folks support you as well?
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram at Arn Lawrence, which is Arn is just a shortening of Aaron because that was taken. So just ARN period Lawrence. You can, go to my website, Aaron/Lawrence.com. That's where the best place to actually get a full picture of my work. The censored stuff, the uncensored stuff. By the way, Sherri, I know you mentioned it earlier. Please go check
I'm
it
like,
out.
maybe I saw that
Um,
when we talked a couple months ago, and I just forgot to go back. But I'm gonna go back and check.
Yeah, no, the only thing I ask people is like, when you go to the explicit page, there's a little blurb I wrote. I just ask people to read it so they can understand what is the intention kind of behind it. But yeah, my website, yeah, those are the two biggest places. And I think on every post I put on Instagram, I definitely put my email in there. I put my website on there. After I left that period of not having a lot of social media, I've like limited how much I'm on it. So I kind of want people to contact me through my website, through IG, because that's the only one I'll choose to check when I pop on there. That's the best way to reach out to me. You can support me by giving me a follow, hell, sharing out a post. I know those aren't like super direct support, but if I write something that means something to you, send it to your friends. You don't even got to put it in your Instagram story. Hell, screenshot that bitch and send it to somebody you actually know in real life. Send it to one of your friends in a text message, whatever. Just spread the message of what I'm trying to put out there. And obviously, book a photo shoot. Or if you got a podcast, bring me on that thing. Um, any of those all work.
I was actually gonna ask you that. For folks who want to book you, are there geographic requirements, and then what are the things, say like top couple of things that they should have ready or need to know in advance in order to book you to work with you?
So geographically, that's not an issue. Luckily, I love to travel. I'm always open to traveling. If that's for a photo shoot or a podcast or anything else like that, like you could, I don't know, you could name some random city, and if I've never heard of it or been there, I'm just like, oh, bet I got to go to this new city that I've never heard of, whatever. So geographically is not an issue. I mean, I'm based in the United States, based out in California, but like I said, my hometown is the East Coast. I actually know the East Coast probably a whole lot more. So That's not going to be an issue for travel or anything else like that. If you wanted to reach out to me to go into a podcast or anything, all I would ask is that you at least listen to some of the ones I've gone on before. And that's kind of just to know what type of conversation we can kind of have. Because like this one, I actually love getting into some of these more esoteric topics. I love getting into what actually creates pleasure, what actually creates intimacy outside of just the surface stuff, you know. But those would be my two biggest things. Other than that,
And
yeah.
if I want to hire you, like if I'm a prospective individual or part of a couple or pairing or not even pairing, a relationship pod, and we want to hire you to shoot us or film us, what does that look like? Just real quick, because I want to respect your time.
Oh no, that's
For
actually a
folks who
great
want to
question.
like hire you as a
Yeah.
photographer, videographer type of thing.
And
That's
do
a
you
great.
do more than duos? Just because you said
Oh
pod
yeah,
made me
Yeah,
think
that's a
of.
good point. Thank you.
yeah. So if somebody wanted to reach out in general, this is the way my process typically works. They reach out, whether it's through Instagram, whether it's through my website, and I'm like, all right, cool. Let's set up a time to talk on the phone. And in that first phone conversation, I'm going to ask questions like, okay, what is it that you're looking for out of the shoot, da 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 da. But it's also an introductory to just like what they want. But me, at least, I'll tell you this: I'm a big empath. I'm reading them as well because, as you can imagine, it's some nutsos out there, some weirdos
Yep.
out there,
Yep.
and I've encountered both of those. So that conversation is kind of a way of me being like, I can gauge if you're serious, and I can gauge like, do I feel comfortable going into, because I'm in the room with y'all as well.
That's a good point.
If you're a couple or if you're a throuple or if you're, any number more than that, I'm outnumbered in that thing.
That's
So
a good point.
as much as like it is about me creating the safety for people, I've learned over the years the steps I need to make sure I'm safe.
Safe. Yeah.
And so we'll have that phone conversation. If it's an individual, we're going to end up then getting into details of like the next phone conversation will be location, date, time, everything else like that. If it's a couple, there has to be a conversation between every party. If it's a throuple, same thing. Everybody's going to have to be on a conversation together at some point. And that conversation is ideally, it is very rare I don't do this. We're going to talk Zoom, FaceTime, hell, Skype if we want to go back. That app still works.
Throwback.
I mean, I don't know.
Uber conference.
Right. Google Hangout. The point is, I have to be able to see face, and all parties are going to have to be a part of this conversation, so that everybody is very aware of what's going to happen, who's going to be in the room, how it's going to play out. But we'll have at least 2 times of talking before we actually get to a photo shoot. So that's generally the process. Obviously, there's contracts got to get signed, everything else like that between there, but those are the 2 biggest things from my book, at least. Like, we're going to have at least 2 combos before we get to the actual shoot.
That's awesome. Can clients own the full rights to their stuff? Can they pay extra to own full rights?
Yes. So I'll put it like this. Everything you can find from me on my website, on any social media link, anywhere, that is like, I only actually have probably about 10% of all the photos and videos I've done. Most of the stuff I do, and even the photos you'll see on the website, those are all from full photo shoots where that couple or that individual gave me the rights. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, just making this up, let's say the 3 of us do a photo shoot, right? After, we're going to agree before, what do you want? Do you want them all for yourself? If so, bet, that's cool. Let's work.
Yeah.
If you're also open to maybe me having the rights to some of them, cool. I'll take the photos, we'll do the day afterwards, I'll edit them, send them all to you. And I may say, hey, can I have the rights to photo 36, photo 41, and photo 23? You can say yes or no based off the conversation. But if you say yes, awesome. Because now I'm going to use that somewhere. So what you can see of my work is a really small portion of the actual photo shoot for that individual or for that couple. So most of the stuff I do, I'm not posting anywhere. I'm not publishing anywhere. And I'm glad you asked that question, because I think a lot of people assume that, like, if I take it, it's going to be on social media, and it's like, no. Like,
that's why I asked, because I already figured as much, but I wanted to let the audience hear you say it. What I want to know is, why not photo 57? I thought I looked good. I mean, Like I thought
and I was
57
gonna
came
say-
out real nice.
And I was going to say thank you to the people who do allow some of theirs to be shared, because
Yes, y'all
it
are
makes
heroes.
it easier for the rest of us to be brave.
Exactly.
I mean, something else you may notice, there's not, I think there may be one or two photos you'll find with a face in it in any of my work. Most of the photos, you won't see a face. And that's because I'm working with teachers, educators, everyday folk, you know what I mean, who are not trying to make an OnlyFans or not trying to make a Fansly. They just want these for themselves. So that's also a component of talking with people about what you want. And it's all a conversation about like,
I
okay,
love
cool.
how you point that out.
If I can have the rights to some of these, I'll make sure there's not going to be a tattoo shown, or I'll make sure it's not going to have your face in it. Even if you gave me the rights to it, I'm going to make sure it's still the one that gives you the most respect and privacy at the end of the day. Because in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, I still want you to have a good feeling about the interactions we had and the photos taken from that shoot.
That is
You get
dope.
what I'm
Thank you
saying?
for pointing. Yo, that's huge. That's, again, that it just shows not empathy, consideration, trustworthiness, all the reasons why people hire you. So, like, thank you for pointing that out. I'm glad I asked.
I'm glad you asked too, because I would not have thought to talk about any of that. So
I mean, it's something that, like, because we had our press, we did a shoot for our press stuff and all that, because it's like we own the rights to everything. That's just how we are. But we also, this is our industry, media, brand, all that.
Right.
So we know that those things are important. We also know there's usually extra cost in consideration if you want to own the rights to everything straight up. So I think I'll ask, because a lot of folks don't even realize it if they haven't done it before, so they may not realize to ask those things. Thank you for being so forthright and being considerate in your whole workflow. You've already done all that work, and people can just confidently go to you and you're like, nah, I've already thought about all that stuff. This ain't day one for me. I'm not a newbie at this, which is the whole reason that you hire a professional like yourself. Yo, it has been dope talking with you. I'm looking forward to, like, I know you're not online, like constantly online, but looking forward to staying in touch with you and everything, because this has been a dope conversation. Yeah, I guess that's about it. I'm your Big Rube.
And I'm your girl, Sherri J.
And that's it, y'all. Peace and deuces and all that good stuff.
Thank
See you later.
This was awesome.